It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of November 10th, 2000. We got 3 films to look at today, so let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Adam Sandler as the Devil's Son, Little Nicky. So as I kind of said before, this is the story of the son of Satan, played by Adam Sandler, and an angel who was tasked with returning his 2 brothers to hell and preventing them from destroying the boundary between good and evil on Earth. And a pretty stacked cast for this movie. Not only Adam Sandler and his regulars, you know, the people that you always see in these movies, but Patricia Arquette, Harvey Keitel, Reese Ifans, Tiny Lister, Rodney Dangerfield, Kevin Nealon, John Lovitz, Michael McKean, Dana Carvey, Quentin Tarantino, Reese Witherspoon, Michael, I said Michael McKean already, but, like, you get the idea. There's a ton of people in this movie, and that's just the leading cast in general. There's a ton of cameos in this movie. Like, Quentin Tarantino is in this movie, Dan Marino, Ozzy Osbourne, Rob Schneider, playing the character he was from The Waterboy, Henry Winkler, Carl Weathers, John Witherspoon. Just an incredible cast of this movie. Like, and this was the first major flop of Adam Sandler's career. I mean, this was a movie that really bombed at the box office. And I think I know why. Most of his movies had opened up in the summertime, except for when he was starting out with Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. This was coming out just a couple weeks after Halloween. Charlie's Angels was still the #1 movie at the box office at the time. Probably, if you could have released this movie before Halloween, maybe it could have done a little bit better, but a couple different things coming into play here with this particular movie and how it didn't do so well. And some people just maybe got tired of Adam Sandler at this point. I mean, it's funny, Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater 3000 said that this movie was the worst comedy ever made, and I mean, he would later go on to say that about other movies as well, like The Master of Disguise. Like, the fact that he had the nerve to say that this is worse than Master of Disguise, I mean, I'm not willing to go that far. Master of Disguise is a really bad movie, but we're still a couple of years away from that. But Roger Ebert, of all people, who really has not liked a single Adam Sandler movie, said, and I quote, "This is the best Sandler movie to date," and found the Nicky character as intriguing, while at the same time lamenting Sandler's lack of finesse and vocal quirks. And I think that's what a lot of people really took away from it, from the fact that Adam Sandler just had that really bad-sounding voice to him, and I can kind of see why it is, but honestly, I remember seeing this movie in theaters. I remember liking it back then. I went back to it nowadays. It's stupid, but it's still kind of fun. I think someone put it into perspective perfectly. I saw a YouTube comment basically saying that this movie, if you grew up with it as a kid, you probably are going to like it. You probably remember liking it. If you saw the movie for the first time as an adult, yeah, you're really going to hate this movie. And for me personally, it's a guilty pleasure movie for me. Like, there is a lot of ambition to this. There is a lot of fun ideas. There's a lot of good funny moments in it. I mean, just funny, quirky lines in the movie. Like when Ozzy Osbourne shows up and casts a cameo, and like it's in the final climax of the movie where Sandler's taking on Reese Ifans' character, and when he shows up, Adam Sandler's just like, "Ozzy?" and Reese Ifans is just like, "Holy shit." Like, just the way they say these lines, it worked for me. It was funny. Like, there were a lot of moments in this movie that did make me laugh long and hard. I thought they were very funny, very enjoyable. I thought the production value overall was really good. Like, I'm not going to say it's a classic movie by any means, or even a good movie. It has a lot of flaws to it, but it is kind of a guilty pleasure film. I mean, I think it is a very much a guilty pleasure movie. It has a lot of moments in there that really feels like, it really does feel like it had some good ideas to it, but they just didn't really have a good idea of what they wanted to go with all the way through. And I thought it worked for the most part. I mean, it's stupid, it's ridiculous, it is extremely over the top, but it's got legitimate laughs to it that actually still hold up after all these years. Again, maybe it's just because I saw this movie when I was a kid. I was at the right age demographic where I probably would have enjoyed this. I saw it in the theater. I remember liking it back then. I remember watching it multiple times on video as a kid. And going back to it, I still kind of found myself enjoying it. Like, a lot of these Adam Sandler movies that we're going to get to here are movies that not a lot of people really enjoyed, but I still kind of had a soft spot for these movies. Like, we're going to get to a lot more of these as the decade goes on. Wait till we get to 8 Crazy Nights, because you probably aren't going to like what I have to say about that one if you don't like that movie. But But I digress. Little Nicky, it's a fun movie. It's a guilty pleasure movie. It's so bad it's good. It's got a lot of good laughs to it, a lot of ambition to it. I thought it was a ton of fun. I like it. I know a lot of people aren't going to like it, but that's one of my guilty pleasure films. So that's Little Nicky. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, Robert De Niro and Cuba Gooding Jr. in Men of Honor. So this is based on a true story. It ultimately revolves around two men of honor, their relationship, their individual and joint failures and triumphs. You have Carl Bashir, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., who's determined to become the first African-American Navy diver in a time when racism is rife, and Leslie Sunday, played by Robert De Niro, is his embittered trainer, and he's determined to see him fail. Fate, challenges, and circumstances eventually drew these two together in a tale of turbulence and ultimately triumph. And, you could say there's definitely a lot of similarities to what we saw last week with I almost forgot the name of it, The Legend of Bagger Vance. In fact, Charlize Theron is in this movie too, really for no reason. She's just kind of there to be kind of the love interest to one of the characters in here. But the movie in general, like, it's got a good. Unlike that movie, The Legend of Bagger Vance did have a good heart to it, but just the wrong execution. This one kind of feels like the same thing, except this one is more closer to getting it right than it actually does completing the overall task of making it an overall enjoyable film. I think Robert De Niro and Cuba Gooding Jr. are perfectly fine in the movie, but they're really not given a whole lot to do here to make this something that you must see. Like, if you want to see some good performances, it's good for them to. It's good to see him in this movie, but other than that, though, it's your typical biopic of the same name. It's a by-the-numbers storyline. There's not really a whole lot of anything new or unique that makes it kind of stand out. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too impressive, but it's not bad. It definitely could have been a whole lot better. As I said, it's directed by the guy who did Soul Food, who wouldn't make another movie until almost 10 years later with Notorious, the biopic about Notorious B.I.G., which I think is a little bit better, but not by that much. But as far as this film goes, it's fine. It's nothing too spectacular. It's nothing too amazing. It's got a couple of good performances that make it kind of worthy for maybe a rental, but other than that, though, there's really nothing else about it that would make me say you need to go see this movie. It's just kind of like, it's there. If you're interested, then you might enjoy it for a one-time view, but other than that, though, there's no other reason why I would say to go check this movie out. But so that's Men of Honor. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is Red Planet. Well, I certainly hope you people kept up with what the hell was going on in that trailer, because let me tell you something. I have no idea what the hell I just witnessed with that trailer. That trailer is just so all over the place. It doesn't know what they're trying to accomplish here. But then again, that's what most of these space movies around the time were looking like. I mean, these were movies that were selling you on the idea of going to space and going to Mars. Like, we've had a couple of movies so far in 2000, like Mission to Mars and Space Cowboys, and then we had the year before that, and then earlier in the year, Supernova, which was a complete disaster on so many different levels. But in this movie, you have a story about Earth dying, and a new colony on Mars could be humanity's only hope. A team of American astronauts is making the first manned expedition to the Red Planet, which, if you were in theaters in 2000, you saw two other movies that showed that was complete bullshit, but I digress. It's a first manned expedition to the Red Planet that must struggle to overcome the differences in their personalities, backgrounds, and ideologies for the overall good of the mission. When their equipment suffers life-threatening damage and the crew must depend on one another for survival on the hostile surface of Mars, their doubts, fears, questions about God, man's destiny, and the nature of the universe becomes defining elements in their fates. In the alien environment, they must come face to face with their most human selves, blah, 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 blah. You probably got tired as soon as I finished reading that, because I certainly did. This is a really, really bad movie. This is directed by a guy who's never made another movie since. It was both a critical and financial failure, and it's kind of hard not to see why, because I don't think even the movie knows what the hell they wanted to do with this. I mean, this just feels like a film that someone said, hey, space is going to be the next big thing, especially going to Mars. We got to make as many movies as we can. And almost none of them were really good. Space Cowboys was the only good one coming out around that time. Like, we still haven't gotten to Ghost of Mars yet, but this movie, it's not quite bordering into alien territory like some of these other knockoffs are, but it's coming pretty close. I mean, this is a movie that just, like I said, I really have no idea what the hell that trailer was all about, because they did not do a good job of selling you on the film itself. Like, yeah, that effect there of the military robot navigator, which is named Amy, which you could probably make the argument there's a little bit of a knockoff of Congo too, because that was the name of the gorilla. But yeah, that's a cool effect and all, but effects don't make the movie. You need to have an engaging storyline for us to get into, and this just doesn't have it, man. This is a film that's just so lifeless, so dull, so boring. There's nothing about this movie that makes it worth it in the end. You don't like any of these characters. You don't get invested in what's going on with their situations, and the movie just kind of really falls apart right from the get-go, and you really have no interest in watching the rest of this film at all. It's just a gigantic waste of time. There's nothing there about this movie that works. I mean, you've got two people who are clearly known for not working well together with other people on other projects. Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore. What do you think is going to happen when you put these two together in a movie like this? And, you know, Sizemore himself said that it was one of his biggest career regrets and that he and Kilmer have since reconciled, so I guess something good came out of it. Not a lot, but still. But, yeah. This is a bad one. This is not a very good film, so that's Red Planet for you. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll take a look at four big movies in particular, including Jim Carrey and How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Ron Howard. We also have the sequel to the Rugrats movie, Rugrats in Paris, Arnold Schwarzenegger's latest film, The Sixth Day, and Ben Affleck and Gwyneth Paltrow in Bounce. So 4 big movies to look at on the weekend before Thanksgiving 2000. So we'll take a look at those on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.